Amimu ahamu akwaba enfamara Greater One Studios aha ana eba ne politics authentic papa na yedi ni nyina eba beda na ene 1 year pepepa His Excellency John Mahama wanya na global info analytics said medical ka Mussa Dankwah woda no waye post bi e de ababonte anase wa kire na adwene e de afa eye His Excellency John Mahama enfie baako a wanya e wo Ghana abenwane so no se ko yie anase anko yie no waye na assessment e de ababonte amedine nyina ebro na even Parliament House kra no enema said enema siko ye MPP NDC said ye siko ye nyina no Mussa Dankwah ayi ni nyina no corruption any ade John Mahama ba ye no watimi atu ase enwuma sem sei ankasa ana His Excellency John Mahama de bedi Ghana benwane so no enema esi akọ ni nyina Mussa Dankwah aya assessment ahokire ede be ne wo man mu sei na Ghana fo ankasa titiro esi ka na yesika kum yaje ne kwakwa num yanko na Mussa Dankwah wada global info analytics ano no ne nsem a wo ka ne nyina no yanko ne yanko nkotie kai hune hwa ne nso se aha Greater One Studio so be like no access bibia wo de comment ne so ato ne yaye bibia so kama dia ba yanko tie Mussa Dankwah wada global info analytics assessment 1 year John Mahama edine wo Ghana abenwane so.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. You're explaining what influenced that public opinion of a 7.
Yes, what I was saying was that there are key metrics that are driving the way people are rating the president. And I will start with their views on the direction of the country. Now, if you look at the data we published in terms of Ghanaians' view on where the country is headed, about 66% of Ghanaians in total are saying that the country is headed in the right direction, compared to 24%. And 10% say they have no opinion. So if a country is perceived to be heading in the right direction, the credit normally goes to the driver, who is the president. Then you look at the data on performance of the government as a whole. In fact, the government as a whole is rated very good or good 50% and excellent 22%. So between excellent and very good or good, it is 72%. Only 70% rate the government very poor or poor. Then another matrix you must look at is people's standard of living. We asked them to compare their standard of living today compared to 12 months ago. 56% said it has improved, but 27% said it has not changed, and 12% said it's actually gotten worse for them, and 5% didn't have an opinion. We did ask them about their optimism for the future. A year from now, are they optimistic that things would improve? 70% said yes, they are optimistic that things will improve in the next year. Only 18% said they are not optimistic, and 12% did not have an opinion. On the issue of fighting corruption or state of corruption in the country today, 56% of Ghanaians are saying that corruption levels has improved, but 20% are saying that it hasn't changed. It's the same old, same old. And then 17% said it's gotten worse, but 8% didn't have an opinion. And then we asked them whether they believe that the government is doing enough in fighting corruption. 60% said yes, they believe the government is doing enough in fighting corruption. But 28% said no, the government is not doing enough in fighting corruption. And 12% did not have an opinion. So when you aggregate all this sentiment, it translates into the rating of what you saw they giving Mahama. In terms of giving him 67% approval compared to 24% disapproval. So if I'm scoring him, I'm going to score him on the basis of this public opinion.
Okay. You talked about those who said that they believe the country is moving towards the right direction. That's around 67%, right?
66%.
66%, yes. And then yes, the government performance, it's around 72%.
Yes.
All right. How do we explain in there? So the argument is that at least if the country is moving towards the right direction, there should be some close or near close numbers between the right direction movement and the performance of the government. Because if it's moving towards the right direction, it's based on that performance that is moving towards the right direction. So how come we have a 66 and then a 72?
Oh, look, there are people who may not have opinion, and those numbers would differ. If you look at the data, always the direction of the country correlates with the approval of the president. When the president is doing bad, people will be seeing the country as heading in the wrong direction. If you look at the data we have from last year, you can see that when people were saying wrong direction, now that was disapproved by high percentage. It's not the differences that matter, but whether they are moving in the same direction that matters.
But how they are moving in the same direction that matters?
Yes, not the difference between approval and the direction of the country. Those who certainly there'll be differences, but not everybody. Look, when it comes to the direction of the country, it's a bigger issue than the performance of the president. There is more bigger across every sector that people take into account before they say right or wrong. But with the president, somebody can just judge him based on just few things.
All right, and with these numbers that you put together in terms of the public opinion, is this something that cuts across the entire 16 regions?
Yes, in fact, if you look at the numbers across the various regions, let me look at all the 16 regions. In Ahafo region, 60% approve of his performance, 22 disapprove. In the Ashanti region, 46 approve, 41 disapprove. In Bono, 57 approve, 28 disapprove. In Bono East, 68 approve, 25 disapprove. Central region, 67 approve, 23 disapprove. Eastern region, 60 approve, 21 disapprove. Greater Accra, 69% approve, 21 disapprove. Northeast region, 71% approve, 24 disapprove. Northern region, 59 approve, 36 disapprove. In OT, 69 approve, 19 disapprove. In Savannah region, 85 approve, 11 disapprove. Upper East, 60 approve, 33 disapprove. In Upper West, 82 approve, 14 disapprove. Voter region, 80 approve, 20 disapprove. Western region, 61 approve, 21 disapprove. Western North, 72 approve, 18 disapprove.
Okay, all right. With that of the Ashanti region, knowing very well where that region stands during our elections, does it come to you as a surprise in terms of the numbers, the 46 approval rate to about 41 disapproval rate?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't for me because if you look at the party affiliation, you have seen, or we have seen, observed that a number of voters in Ashanti region have now moved to become floating voters. When they are moving from MPP to floating voters, they soften their stance when it comes to this kind of data. And we're not surprised that Mahama is doing approval rating 46% compared to 41 disapproval.
But did you find out why they have now moved to floating voters?
We don't ask the question why. I think it's for the political parties themselves to go and do their own homework. But you could see the issue of how the party is perceived generally across the country, not just in Ashanti region, across the country. We've seen NDC now become almost 41% of Ghanaians when you openly ask them which party they support. They say NDC, 41%. MPP used to be 37% before the last election. They are now 26%. They've declined from 37 to 26%. And that has happened across every region.
Okay, all right. And let's look at age here. Did that also influence in any way the age brackets in there?
Look, if you look at the political party affiliation by age, and mostly they tend to vote along that line. For people who are 18 to 24 years, 42% of them say now they belong to NDC. 22 belong to MPP, and 19% are floating voters. 14% will not disclose their party affiliation, and 4% support other parties. For people who are between 25 and 34, 40% is NDC, 25 is MPP, and 22 are floating voters. When it comes to those between 35 and 44, 42% are NDC, 27% are MPP, and 19 are floating voters. Those between 45 and 54, 40% NDC, 29 MPP, and 18% floating voters. People who are between 55 and 64, MPP is 31, NDC 36, floating voters 17%. And those who are above 65, NDC is 40%, MPP 28, and floating voters 9%. So across all demographic age, MPP is trailing.
All right. You've been doing this work for some time now. Looking at the figures and what's the approval rate of the president, the government performance, within 1 year, will you describe this as quote and unquote, well, maybe it's normal, or there's something surprisingly happening in here, especially with how it cuts across?
Unfortunately, before we came into existence, nobody was doing this work. So we can't compare to say that, oh, it's different from what Nado experienced when he came to power, or when Kufuor came to power, or when Mills came to power. Nobody had got the data to give us specific data. Until we came in. We started building this data over 2022, and we are continuing. What we can say is that Mahama started the year, April, the first poll, on 66%. July, went to 73%. And then in October, it came down to 67 and still 67. So he's still doing above his polling numbers when he first came in.
Okay, all right. Dankwah, apart from these works that you have done, any other works that we can wrap up on within this particular conversation?
I mean, we've done so much in terms of the public opinion. There are things that we normally seek public opinion on when it comes out. And we took into account, for example, the issue of Professor H. Commission that came out with some recommendations in terms of some amendments made to the Constitution. In fact, the report came, I think, around 24th, and a day or two after, we went to the field to pick public opinion. And that is also in the report we released this time around. Now, what I can say on that is that, look, there is broader support for some of the reforms that has been proposed by the Commission. For example, in terms of increasing the term of president from 4 to 5 years, you have 50% of Ghanaian voters supporting that proposal, but 36% oppose that proposal.
Okay.
When you come to issue about amending the Constitution to allow, to prevent MPs from becoming ministers, that receives 58% support, but 32% oppose that recommendation. And then on the issue of MMC elections, a big majority, about 6-3, approve it, and 28 is approved. And then when you come to the issue of 30-year limit of age group for president, that too is backed by about 56%, 5-6, and 34% oppose it.
Okay.
But on death sentence, it is 59% support the abolition of death sentence and 25% oppose it.
Okay. Are the members of parliament, especially from the majority side, also enjoying that same approval rate compared to that of the president?
Yes. In fact, if you look at, let's look at it from this angle. If you look at, I think, 1 second, let me just look at the data, and that will apply to all MPs. We asked voters to tell us how they feel about their MPs' performance. Let me just see if I can quickly see that data. Okay, performance, government performance, MPs, yes. About 48% of Ghanaian voters rate their MPs as very good or good. But 60% rate them excellent. So if you add the excellent and very good, that gives you quite a lot of, about 72% or so believe that the MPs have done very well. Average performance for MPs about 13%, and very poor or poor is about 23%. So the MPs are equally enjoying a very good rating. And that also manifests in the data about who do you perceive to be least or most corrupt public institution. Members of Parliament are rating very high as we speak to you. In fact, the top, they are number 5 from the top in terms of how people see them as now least corrupt.
And I mean, what about the minority side, MPs?
We didn't do that kind of comparison. We don't want to be a bit pedestrian when it comes to this assessment. We want to be broader rather than specific to NDC and MPP.
Okay. So, Dankwah, we'll leave our conversation